like I said in the last video, I had an idea that I should do, I guess, a slideshow to illustrate what I had been talking about in terms of, personal changes or growth or whatever. The problem is I'm not exactly sure which pictures are going to end up in what order because my thumbnails are kind of small and off to the side and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to try and kind of go, I guess, sort of chronological from what I can remember. I had already said the first couple, then, well, I know for a fact that I have the class photo with the Ringer t-shirt, which was a thing, and they had the contrasting sleeves. That was kind of like part of my like intentional look when I was that age, was that dark band collar instead of just a white collar or whatever. So my initial style choice from when I was 8 or 10 or whatever. And then one of these pictures, I actually had multiple events in the same shirt, a birthday party and a trip to Santa Claus. So I picked one picture of that shirt and then another one from when I'm older wearing a similar shirt, just to illustrate that I wasn't, making it up, that this was kind of the common shirt. Here's me with an actual Olympic torch. Those things were heavy without fuel in them, I can assure you. Just getting this picture made me 5 times stronger. Going out of order, here's one of me as a kid in a turtleneck. Although I can edit these clips and move them around, but maybe for levity I won't bother. And then I have a couple here from around the same time where it's the Western wear look. And here in high school is the total Farmer Ted shirt, gold car picture that, kids used to say with the braces and everything. I look just like Farmer Ted, so thought I might embrace that. So then next will be the, I guess, Alex Keaton phase, or the sweater vest look. Then there's, I guess, the long sleeve version of a polo shirt, but not quite a true rugby shirt. Kind of a quintessential 80s garment look. I don't have pictures of some of me with my sweaters and ties from that time. I just have this one. And then obviously I'm not going to show every single outfit I've ever owned in my entire life. That would be fairly redundant and fairly pointless. Included here for amusement is kind of the post-grunge sort of slacker Ethan Hawke movie era, I guess. It was kind of amazing how quickly after, Nirvana ended, that the whole grunge fashion thing also ended. It was pretty much within, like, was it 6 months? Was it more? And then everybody was wearing all the baggy clothing, and I was out of fashion because I had, the ripped jeans still and the flannel shirt. The the cardigan sweaters, I just lived in those because they were comfortable. Some were itchier than others. If you found a nice cotton one, it was better. Was gonna talk about thrift stores at length somewhere, so I guess I'll do it now. The 90s was still a pretty okay time for me to find stuff at thrift stores. I kind of ran out of, novelty 70s stuff because all the boutiques would buy the stuff up. and then turn around and charge $200 for something that you could have got for $6 a week ago, because it was polyester and kitschy or whatever, and some of them still get away with that. When I was in high school, there was 3 thrift stores within walking distance of my house. The one was the Salvation Army up the street, and they had a little more, maybe higher quality or more recent clothing, but it was more expensive. And you find some stuff there once in a while if you're willing to cough up the extra dough. Down the street in the old town, there was the one thrift store that had more antique kind of stuff, almost never clothes that would actually fit you. You'd kind of go in really hoping. And in the early 90s, or the mid, somewhere in there, the swing movement was kind of going on, and that place was still there. And I met a guy. He had lucked out because he had found these beautiful used wingtips, and he was dancing, and in the aisle, for my amusement, I guess, doing little swing moves and stuff. And I was like, wow, good score for you for $20. Nothing here for me. Then the other one that didn't last as long was literally almost right across the street from my not my house, but my block. And they had, in the middle kind of stuff. And I had gone into my wannabe costume designer phase, I guess. I'm going to talk about this more in a different video about, how much we were influenced by film and television, because we didn't actually have the internet. We didn't have all this. Now there's young people who know, like, down to the minutia about, uniforms from, random wars and things. And, like, we only knew what we saw in the movie. So if they represented it in a movie, we assumed that was more or less correct. And like I said, I'm not going to dwell on that here. But across the street, there was the other thrift store. And so when my my esteemed school chum colleague wanted to, put together kind of a more rugged look, a more outdoorsy kind of vibe, I think Crocodile Dundee was kind of the main impetus for this one. Um, I said, oh yeah, they got just perfect stuff for that at the new place, and I took him over there, and he was amazed at how quickly I put together him, 3 good solid outfits that would suit the part, And now you'd mostly associate the shirts we picked out with Dwight Schrute from The Office, that kind of mustardy. You wouldn't be caught dead in the thing, but with the right suede jacket and with the cocked up hat, people noticed. They're like, oh wow, like I said, neither of us looked very 80s at the time. I don't have any photos of that, of course. Um, okay, here's a couple of me in a similar, what I was talking about, the prep school look with the blue and the burgundy and the gray. So if anybody is just watching this hoping for good color combination ideas, that is here. That was one thing I really wanted to kind of touch on. And after that, I've got gray, which is not a color I typically gravitate towards. It tends to kind of wash me out. I'm wearing gray right now, but it's being, augmented or whatever. But sometimes gray works. Sometimes gray works very well. It looks better on some people than others. Following that, we have charcoal, which is always a winner. I mean, almost. Although, like I've said, I think in the previous video, I think charcoal is something that it has so much dignity that you almost don't want to wear it too much when you're younger, because you'll use it all up. You I don't know. Your results may vary. This is a photo from an event that was a casual event, but I chose to wear a sport coat with kind of a matching tie and just these kind of patterned polyester trousers. But all the young guys thought I was wearing a suit, and they all thought it looked really good. So if you want to call me an influencer that night, I think I might have hoodwinked some kids into getting into the style journey by default at this dance club or whatever it was. I wasn't trying. Uh, and then here's me in just shorts and t-shirts. Here's an autumny Argyle sweater. I've had many, many Argyle sweaters. And here's another Argyle sweater. And some kind of posy kind of stuff a family friend made me sort of do. That was not my usual way of taking photos. And then we have a couple here that are kind of almost a gangster look, not necessarily an intentional gangster look, like it was kind of, but that whole 20s resurgence thing. Back to the TV and movie shows, one thing that's always happened to me that maybe I touched on before is whenever I watched a historical kind of program, it always clicked in my head. They dressed so much better back then, and you've probably heard somebody else say this in other videos, and it's true. It just resonates. Like, I mean, that's, I think, part of the reason, like I said, I even just wanted khaki pants instead of denim pants, even though denim pants probably predate khaki pants by, at least 50 years or something, but they're iconic in their own, right. Another thing that was kind of pervasive when I was a kid was, like I said, everybody kind of wore the Vans sneakers. You'd look at a show like Charlie Brown or something, and they'd have these like traditional brown shoes, and we can, where does anyone even get brown shoes? I still, don't see people wearing brown shoes all that often, although, I guess there's kind of a resurgence now. I don't, I guess I don't know how people make a living as an influencer, because, a lot of the guys, when they do these videos, they talk about what brand this is. Oh, this is this brand. This is this brand. Half of these brands, I wouldn't even know which ones they were anymore. And some of these companies are, in stores are no longer in business. So there's going to be that.